Barry Neal again here, and in this video I want to talk to you about something that is really close to my heart, and that is the subject of how to work with someone who's grieving, who's suffering with grief. Now, if you've studied counselling and certain other forms of therapy, they'll tell you that grieving is a natural process and that you shouldn't work with someone who's grieving for about a year, 2 years, or whatever. Now, on paper that sounds great, but in practicality it's nonsense, and it's dangerous nonsense, because people need help when they need help. Let me explain. A little while ago, a relative of mine who lives down in Cornwall, their neighbour, guy in his, I think it was in his early 60s, him and his wife had been together since they were teenagers, and his wife had died of cancer. Now, this guy was absolutely distraught, totally distraught, and shortly after she died, he'd gone to the doctor and said, "Look, I'm really struggling, I need help. Can you do something?" And the doctor's saying, "No, it's okay. You know, what you're going through is perfectly normal. You know, it's going to take you a long time to get through this. It could, you know, and if after 3 or 4 months or a year or so you're still suffering, come back and we'll set up some counselling for you. But you know, it's a normal, natural process." Well, the guy went home, and a week later he was found hanging from in his house. So the guy needed help. He was desperate for help. That's when you need to give it to them. So if you know someone who's suffering with grief and they can't function, then you need to help them. Now, obviously, anyone who goes through a loss is going to be grieving. If they're functioning, that's fine. If they're not functioning, that's when you might need to step in and help. So there are a number of things that you can do right at that point in time. And I'm not going to cover those right now, but they could be things like EMDR or eye movement integration. It could be havening. It could even be tapping or things like that, just to start breaking them out of their state. What you need to do is to really work with them at that point in time. But then, what we then want to do is to change the way they think about the person they've lost. Now, this is not just limited to someone who's died. This also could be the loss of a relationship. Many times people get dumped for whatever reason, and they're really struggling to cope. This process works exactly the same for them, and it's very, very powerful for them on their healing journey to do this, because the reality is, and if you study NLP, you'll know this to be true, it's not the events that are the problem. It's how we think about those events and how we think about that situation that's the problem. And if you change the way you think about it, you're going to change the way you feel. And this process does that, and it works on the same process that your brain already uses to change how you feel about things and people. So let's have a look. This technique originally came from Steve and Connie Ray Andreas from NLP Comprehensive, and it's called the grief resolution process. Steve and Connie Ray have done an incredible amount for the field of NLP, and I highly recommend that you check out their resources and read their books. They're brilliant. They come up with some amazing things, and this is one of their best. So step 1 in the grief resolution process is to tell people that love never hurts. That pain is natural, but the pain that we feel is something other than love. So we want to explain to people gently, kindly, that love never hurts. That yes, obviously they are in pain, but that pain is something other than love, because love doesn't hurt. Okay? So this is not the time for the big rah-rah NLP session. This is the time to be pacing with them and starting to lead. So explaining this gets the mind going in that direction. Now, we now want to come up with what's called a counterexample. Now, in NLP, what we often do is use contrastive analysis to look at how they think about one thing compared to how they think about another thing. And this is extremely true in this situation, because we've all had situations where we've lost someone who was very important at one point in our life, but now as we think about it, we're okay about it. We're complete about it. If we're talking about relationships, we probably all had lovers and partners who we're now no longer with, and we're fine about it. We can even see them and not be upset about the situation at all. Somehow we've resolved that. So what we want to do is to have them think about someone who's passed, who they're now complete with, and have them then think about that person in their mind's eye. And what we want to do then is to elicit, so we want to have them just think about someone they lost, but they're now okay with it. Okay, and then step 3, we want to then elicit the main submodalities. If you don't know what submodalities are, do a Google search on it. Basically, it's how we think about things, how we represent those, and we're talking about visual submodalities in this case. So basically, the main ones we're looking for is where in their visual field do they think about these people. So for example, let's say the person, they've currently lost a loved one, but when they think now, they lost their grandmother 20 years ago. Okay, and as they think about their grandmother, do they feel okay about that loss now? Do they feel fine? Do they feel complete? And they go, oh yeah, I can think about my grandmother, and it brings back warm, happy, smiley, fuzzy memories. Great. As you think about your grandmother now, in your mind's eye, where do you see your grandmother? Are they more over to the left or to the right? And they go, well, yeah, I can see them over here. Oh, great. Okay. Are they close or far away? Oh no, they're right there. Now, there's a key one. Are they, when you think about them, is it an associated image, i.e., does it appear like they're actually there right now, or is it a dissociated image? Looks like way over there and like you can't get to it. Oh no, it's quite it's an associated image. It's right here. Great. Okay. So then would you have any objection to being able to think about this loved one in the same way as you think about your grandmother? No, that would be great. If I could do that, that would be really wonderful. Great. So you elicit the submodalities. The easiest way, so you don't want to be doing this with a checklist or whatever. What you want to be doing is doing it really conversationally. So as I say, as you think about this person, do you think about them more over on the right hand side or the left hand side? Where do you see them? Oh, it's over here. Great. So the left or right, and are they close or far? And are they associated or dissociated? These are really the key ones. You can get down to really nitty-gritty, but you don't need to. In submodality terms, the key submodalities are typically location, i.e. left or right, distance, close or far, and associated or dissociated. Typically with someone who's grieving, they are when they think about the person that they just lost, they're really dissociated from everything. They think, I'm never going to be able to hold them again, I'm never going to be able to touch them, I'm never going to be able to say all those things, because they're distant. And the people that they've resolved the grieving with tend to be associated. So this is a key distinction. So those are the three things you want to do. So then step 4 is you want to have them move the person they're grieving to the location of this. Okay? So for example, if grandmother is over here and they feel fine about grandmother, then what you have them do, you say, would it be okay if you were to think about the person you just lost in the same way as you think about your grandmother? Yes, great. Okay, what I want you to do, just close your eyes for a moment. I want you to push that image off of your loved one off into the distance and have it come back into the location exactly where your grandmother is. So as you look at that person now, they're right there in front of you, about 3 foot away from you. They're full size. As you look at them, you can see them there. Yeah? And let me know, nod your head when you can do that. Great, okay. And I want you to do is, I want you to ask your unconscious mind to just lock that in there. So from this moment on, whenever you think about X, you think about them like this. Would that be okay? Yes, great. Okay. So then, step 5. Now, one of the things is, it's not just the person that they're missing. It's all the qualities and the memories and the associations they have with that person that they're missing as well. And they think that they're never going to experience that again with anybody, that they're never going to experience that type of connection or have that same sort of relationship with anybody else. So that's also what they're grieving. They're not just grieving the person, it's all the qualities and the relationships that they're grieving as well. So what we want to do is we want to have them imagine a basket on the same side as the resource. So if grandmother is over here and you've now moved their loved one over here, then have them imagine a basket. Whatever type of basket they want to imagine is absolutely fine. Okay? And then what we wanted to get them to do is to have them start remembering all the wonderful memories and then put them in the basket. We want to have them one by one take these wonderful happy times. This is not the time to be having them think about their loved one in the ICU with tubes coming out of them. That's not the time to be doing that. This is about having them to reassociate to all the positive, wonderful, happy times. This is what we want to do. Again, association, dissociation is a big part of this. So we want them to start associating to all these wonderful, happy memories, one at a time. And then what we're going to have them do is to, if they're a movie or whatever, have them like shrink that down and put it like almost like a pearl in the basket, and then move on to the next happy, wonderful memory, and have them experience that, have them fully associate to it, then have them shrink it down as kind of like a pearl or whatever representation feels really good to them, and put that in the basket. And do this over and over again, and put loads of them, these wonderful, happy memories. And remember, what we're doing here is we're really looking at the qualities and the relationship that they had between this person, because remember, they feel that they're never going to be able to experience that again. So we want to really associate them to all those memories and those qualities of the relationship, and we're going to put them in the basket. So we then ask the unconscious mind, or just the unconscious, to hold on to all these wonderful memories. Putting more and more in, and hold on to all these wonderful memories, so wherever they need them, they'll be there. Then, so what we're doing is we've really built up and had them fully associate to all the wonderful, happy times, and have them notice all the qualities and the relationship that will happen between them and that person. You put them in the basket. So now they've got these wonderful resources in the basket. So then, remember, one of the reasons why they're grieving is because they think they're never going to have these feelings again. What we want to do now is to put all these qualities in the future, so that as they look forward to their future, they will begin to realize that they can have these qualities again with other people, that they will be able to have other relationships, that they will be able to move forward. So first, step 8, and have them imagine their future. Now, if you know how to elicit a timeline, brilliant, that's great. But just have them think of their future in whatever way. And now you may get at this point some resistance, because some people may say, there is no future without them. Well, then maybe you need to do a little bit more work. But if you say, okay, so I know that it's really tough for you to imagine your future at the moment without this person. But if you could, if you were able to point to where your future is, which way would you point? Was it in front of you, or to the left or the right? And they go, it's to the front. Okay, brilliant, that's it. So you need to pace whatever you're working with. Then we have them, with their eyes closed, imagine going out into their future. And then they throw the memories, i.e. whatever's in that basket, either by handful or one by one. Imagine throwing these memories out into the future. All these qualities out into the future. All the qualities. And now's the time for you to use all your hypnosis skills, because you now want to be future pacing that they're going to be put all these wonderful qualities out into the future, and you're not even going to suggest what that means to them. It could mean that they'll be able to experience these memories whenever they need them. They'll be there whenever they need them, and it may be that these qualities, they'll start noticing the same qualities that you used to notice in X in new people and new relationships, and we never know what the future can bring. So you want to be indirect, but start building a positive future where they begin to realize that they are going to be able to have these qualities and relationships with somebody else. So that's how you do it. So you build a positive future for them. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So that's really it. So it's a really, really cool technique. So let's just run back through it. Step 1, love never hurts. Really make that clear. Love never hurts. Pain is a natural part of life, but pain we feel is something other than love. That love doesn't hurt. Then we get the counter example, someone that who's either they used to be in a relationship with, or someone who's died but now they're okay with. Then we elicit the submodalities, and we're looking for left or right. Are they close or far, or are they associated or dissociated? Then we ask them, so would it be okay for you to think about X in the same way as you think about grandma? Yes, that would be great. So then you have them close their eyes, push X off into the distance, and have it come back into the location of grandma. So that now as they look in that same place, they have the same feelings. They feel exactly the same way as when they think about grandma, that they're complete with that. Okay? So then we have them imagine a basket. And then we start putting in these memories. If they're movies or whatever, we have them fully associate into them, and then shrink them down, put them into the basket like pearls, fill that right up, have them imagine their future, and then with their eyes closed, imagine going out into the future and throwing these pearls out, so that they can begin to realize that they're going to experience these qualities and these relationships with new people in new ways, which perhaps they hadn't even thought of before, which may surprise and delight them. Okay, and that's how you do it. This is a really, really powerful process. It helps people to heal dramatically. Is it always done in one session? No. Is there some other things you might need to do? Of course. But this itself, as a standalone technique, is a very, very powerful technique to help people with the grieving process. And as I say, if people are really struggling in the early days, then you may need to step in with other interventions like EMDR or eye movement integration or havening or even some form of tapping or whatever, or some form of resource work. But please, please, if someone comes to you or someone phones you up and says, look, I lost my husband, I lost my partner, even lost my dog 3 weeks ago, I can't cope, I can't go on, work with them. This nonsense about it takes 2 years to grieve and you shouldn't be seeing clients before 2 years is just utter nonsense. People are dying because they're not getting the help. So if you can help, help them. So I hope you take this on board, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. You can contact me either on YouTube or on my website or on my Facebook page. Until then, I'll see you soon.